Hey y'all, Joefer here, the Cranky Old Gay Guy. Well, I guess it's about time that I address this whole Kirk situation and what is happening in the United States of America and how it makes me cranky. First off, I do not condone violence against anyone for what they say. My response has always been use your mouth to clap back. Don't use your fists and don't use guns or weapons. It's not smart, and that's what bullies do. Okay, that being said, I was not a follower of Mr. Kirk. I saw plenty of him online. You can't help it, it just rolls into your feed. And I did not believe in the things that he was saying. I am not a right-wing Christian evangelist, and I don't believe most of what Christians spout as the word and the promise and all that. I don't follow any of that. That's my belief system. For what he was saying, he said a lot of things that were not, in my mind, in the Bible. There were a lot of people he did not like. And when I say people, I don't mean individuals. I mean groups of people. And I am just going to let you listen to some of his stuff on your own. And you can figure out who those people are. But yeah, I would not be welcomed in his circle of acquaintances. Now, moving on to the Jimmy Kimmel thing. I've listened to what Jimmy Kimmel said over and over because you can't escape that either. And he didn't say anything about Kirk. He was referencing the accused assailant. And all he said was that the right was trying to do everything possible to, well, pretty much distance himself from this person. And that's pretty much what he said. That was it, the whole thing. And then he loses his show. I don't watch Jimmy Kimmel. I don't watch any of the late night shows. So I don't have a horse in this race. However, I did see all the clips where the FCC chairman was saying that what he did was terrible and he needs to be removed from the air, and that station needs to lose its license, and that this is, and after it all happened, he was on the air again saying, this is only the first. We're going to go after other people too, or other programmers, other celebrities. And what happens is that puts the fear into big corporations that they're going to start losing revenue unless they do what the FCC guy is saying that they need to do. Now, the FCC guy said, I haven't said that anyone in particular should be removed. But Donald Trump has. Text after text. When asked about the whole supposed Kirk slight that Jimmy Kimmel did, he went on and on about how all the late night hosts attack him and how they're always negative towards him. 97% of what they say is negative towards me. So yeah, they should suffer. They should, be in trouble and they should lose their shows. That's what he says. So the FCC steps in and makes veiled threats to corporations that you do what he wants or we're not going to help you out. And places like ABC is trying to buy Discovery and another network. No, maybe it's just trying to buy Tubi. It's got a merger coming up. And so do places like Sinclair, which owns, at least on the West Coast, pretty much every local radio or local TV station is owned by Sinclair. And you can tell when you look at their news programs, they're all in the same order and they all repeat the same talking points over and over, the same special interest story, the same feel-good story. It's all exactly the same because they're all owned by the same company that sends out the pressers every day and says, this is what you're going to talk about. And the talking heads on all those local stations, you might think that they're all local and it's all news local. It's not. A lot of the news stories are feeds that go across the country because they're getting the message that corporation wants to get out there. The other one is Star something, and there's two other ones, and they own majority of stations across the rest of the country, and they are trying to buy up some smaller companies. And right now, I think that you can't have more than 39 local TV or 39 TV stations under the corporation name, and they are trying to get the FCC to raise that level to 80 or more. And if they do, then they're buying these other stations. They've already got the deals in place, which will push them up to the 80. And if they can't get the FCC to agree to raise that standard or raise that limit, then they can't legally have these other stations. So once they get the limit raised, then they'll approach the FCC again and say, we want to buy these stations. Is it okay? And the FCC can say yes or no. Well, if they're doing what the administration wants, they think they're going to get what they want. And they might, but they might not. If you recall, Disney was sued and paid like $15 million to Donald Trump for some reason. They played something that he didn't like. They reported that CBS did the same thing. They reported poll numbers that he didn't like, and he thought that they should be sued because he didn't like the poll numbers, put it that way. So they caved, and rather than go to court, which they would have won because they were on the right side of the law, they just paid to avoid all of the costs and the negative publicity. And they all had mergers in the works that they wanted to go through. Now, if you pay a bully once, the bully's going to come back again and ask you for more money or ask you to do something else. And by giving in like they did, even though they had the money to fight it, Harvard did the same thing. They were standing up to him, and now I guess they're giving in. The New York Times hasn't given in yet. In fact, they're being sued for, $260 million or something by Donald Trump personally. That was a slip of the tongue. I apologize. They are suing. He's being suing them personally because they reported on that letter that he supposedly sent to Jeffrey Epstein, and he denied it. He also denied that the letter really existed. Now, the Epstein estate released that letter in a book of letters to Jeffrey Epstein that the New York Times had reported on. Their reporter had seen the book, gone through it, and made a report. Trump said the book didn't exist. Well, it's been proven that the book does exist, and there is a letter in there signed by Donald Trump. Donald Trump says it's not my signature. Well, is it or is it not? I don't know. However, if you line up everything that's been reported about him, the letter wouldn't be a stretch. Put it that way. Am I saying that he wrote it? No, I'm not saying it. I'm not saying that he did anything. I am just telling you, particularly if you're not in this country, this is what's happening. Rights are being eroded. The freedom of speech is being eroded. Attacks on trans people is at an all-time high. And I don't just mean physical attacks, I mean political attacks. Attacks on women's rights been wiped out over this last year. Abortion's been disallowed in many states and restricted in the rest. I think Oregon and Washington and maybe California are the three states that are pretty much the same in regards to abortion that it was before. Everything else has changed. This whole national flags at half-staff for Charlie Kirk, I don't understand that on what's the word? I don't understand it on a logical level because he was not a government employee. He didn't do anything with the government except he was friends with the administration and told them what to do, and they did it. He didn't speak on the government's behalf. He didn't speak on my behalf. He didn't speak on the behalf of the American people. He spoke on behalf of his own company, Turning Point USA. So why they flew all the flags at half-mast, that was just a suck-up by the administration to bring his supporters, if any of them weren't already MAGAs, now they are. And then they rented an entire stadium in Arizona and filled it with all of the followers. And I did watch, oh boy, 30 different speakers, 20 different speakers this morning. From that, I did not watch the funeral, by the way. It was televised live all across the nation on Fox, CNN, and I believe it was also aired when Jimmy Kimmel was supposed to be on TV. Actually, that was Friday night. Yeah, I think they aired it Friday night when Jimmy Kimmel was supposed to be there, but they pulled his show. I listened to some of this stuff. A lot of it had nothing to do with the person who has passed, and a lot more to do with nationalism, pro-America, pro-Christianity. Stephen Miller got up there and made this ranting speech that you would have heard in Germany in the 1930s, and he was ranting, and he was quoting, I shouldn't say quoting because it wasn't quotes, he was saying the same things that Goebbels was saying when Goebbels did it in the 1930s. That's Joseph Goebbels, who's one of Hitler's right-hand men. Trump, I tried not to listen to his. He went on after the non-alive person's wife, who said that she forgave the person that did this. And then Trump immediately got up there and said that he disagrees with her and that he does not forgive this guy and he does not forgive his opponents. In fact, he does not like his opponents. He dislikes them a great deal. And that Mr. Kirk up in heaven would be disagreeing with me right now because we know he was a saint. And another guy got up and mentioned how he was like the next Paul of the Bible, which I don't follow Paul, but evidently Paul was almost a saint. Again, he became a saint eventually. But again, correlations are really effed up in my mind because I am not a religious person. So all of these quotes tying people to different people in the Bible goes in one ear and just kind of sits there and says, what am I supposed to do with this information? I don't believe in making anyone a saint after they're gone or putting them up on a pedestal, because why would I? Why would I put anyone up on a pedestal ever? In my world, everyone is equal. They aren't treated that way by society, but in my world, everyone should be treated, I'm saying it again. Everyone should be treated equal and on the same playing field. In the ideal world, it would be like Star Trek in the 200 years from now, when everyone has a basic income. Your time is spent, if you're not in the Federation, which would be the government, your time would be spent helping others, doing art, creating, doing things that help society. If you're in the Federation, you would have assigned positions and jobs, much like they do, to make sure that there is always enough for everyone. That's pretty much what the Federation does. They explore, they protect, and they provide. They make sure that everyone has enough to survive. No one in the Star Trek future on planet Earth is living in a gutter or on the street or starving to death or not getting medical care. Everyone is linked together in a way that everyone in this world should be, and that everyone helps everyone. And when you crap on one person, you're crapping on yourself. Okay, so what makes me cranky? Oh, I think I covered that. I just didn't say cranky. Building someone up after they've passed into some kind of an angel. No, I don't buy it. Something I didn't cover was the supposed note or the alleged note. I haven't seen the note. I've just heard different people reading it on YouTube news stations, and I believe it was also read on one of the like CNBC. I don't know about Fox because I don't watch Fox very often. The way that people talk on those shows and the makeup, it just drives me nuts. In the note, it answered every question that the FBI could ever have or ever need for a conviction, which seemed really weird that a 22-year-old would put everything that was required and explaining how they changed clothes and where they put the rifle and how they changed their clothes back and how they got on the roof and how they did this and how they did that. And this is a going away note to this person's partner. So why would they go into all of that detail? It makes me cranky that that's being pushed as the narrative, that that's how it happened, when I am very suspicious of that. Not as far as the conspiracy, I'm not going to go into that. But yeah, I think that the letter was perhaps a fabrication. Again, allegedly a fabrication. I don't know. What makes me cranky is the crackdown on civil rights in this country. And it's been happening ever since someone took office. And they're also getting rid of environmental protections, pollution restrictions. Companies are no longer required to report the pollutants that they're putting into the environment. That just was signed last week by an executive order. Why would anyone in their right mind do that? Do they want to go back to the late 1800s, early 1900s when the sky was just a cloud of coal smoke? That makes me cranky too. But that's all I got for you today. I'm talking too much, and I'm going to let you go. All right, everybody, stay cranky, my friends. Stay cranky. Bye-bye.